Power is a concept that has fascinated humans for centuries. It shapes societies, influences lives, and determines the course of history. When we think about power, many of us imagine it as something that is given, a gift, a reward, or a position handed down by others. But the Italian philosopher Niccolò Machiavelli, who lived during the Renaissance, challenges this common idea. According to Machiavelli, power is never simply given, it is always taken. This means that those who hold power are not passive recipients but active seekers. They take power through action, strategy, and sometimes force. Understanding this idea helps us see politics, leadership, and human behavior in a new light. Machiavelli's famous book, The Prince, offers practical advice to rulers on how to gain, keep, and use power effectively. He wrote this book during a time of political chaos in Italy, where city-states were often at war and leaders had to be clever and strong to survive. He believed that power comes to those who are willing to act decisively and boldly, not those who wait for it to be handed to them. This lesson is not just about kings or presidents. It applies to everyday life, to anyone who wants to influence others or change their circumstances. When we say power is never given, only taken, we mean that power is something to be earned by effort, courage, and sometimes cunning. It is not a right or a guarantee, but a prize that must be seized. Machiavelli's idea can be surprising because it goes against the usual way we think about fairness and justice. We often believe that good people will be rewarded, or that those who deserve power will receive it naturally. But Machiavelli shows us a more realistic and sometimes harsh truth. Power is not about fairness. It is about effectiveness. Those who succeed are not always the most virtuous, but the most capable of taking and holding power. This does not mean that Machiavelli promotes cruelty or evil. Instead, he advises rulers to be practical and understand human nature. People are often motivated by fear and self-interest more than kindness or loyalty. Therefore, to gain power, one must be willing to use all means necessary, including manipulation or force if needed. This practical view helps rulers avoid mistakes and maintain their position. For example, a prince who waits for his subjects to willingly give him power may find himself powerless. But a prince who understands how to inspire fear, respect, or loyalty can hold power securely. Machiavelli famously said that it is better for a ruler to be feared than loved if he cannot be both. This idea illustrates how power depends on perception and control. The moment a leader loses control, power slips away. This is why power is always taken and never given freely. To understand why power must be taken, we also need to consider the nature of human society. Humans live in groups, and in these groups, there are always struggles for influence. People want to protect their interests, improve their lives, and gain advantages over others. These struggles mean that power is always contested. It is not a stable gift, but a dynamic prize. If one person or group is weak or passive, others will quickly take advantage and seize power from them. History shows many examples of this truth. Empires rise and fall because of power struggles. Leaders who fail to act decisively lose their position to more determined rivals. Machiavelli observed this constantly in the Italy of his time, where city-states changed rulers often. The lesson is clear. If you want to have power, you must be willing to take it and hold on to it firmly. Waiting politely for power to be handed to you is a mistake that leads to weakness. Another important part of Machiavelli's idea is that taking power requires understanding the situation and acting wisely. Power is not just about physical strength or violence. It also involves intelligence, strategy, and timing. A wise leader knows when to act and when to wait. Taking power without planning can lead to failure, but careful action combined with courage and decisiveness leads to success. Machiavelli's advice is full of examples of leaders who succeeded because they understood this balance. For example, a ruler who uses kindness and generosity at the right time can gain loyalty and support. But if they rely only on kindness without showing strength, they may be overthrown. Similarly, a leader who is too harsh risks losing the support of the people. Therefore, power requires a combination of qualities: strength, wisdom, flexibility, and sometimes ruthlessness. The person who understands this balance can take power and keep it. In modern life, Machiavelli's idea that power must be taken still applies. Whether in business, politics, or personal relationships, power does not come simply by asking for it or hoping for the best. It requires effort, confidence, and action. For example, a person who wants to lead a team at work cannot expect their colleagues to give them power out of kindness. They must show their skills, take responsibility, and earn respect. Similarly, in politics, candidates who want to win office must actively campaign, persuade voters, and build alliances. Power comes from effort, not from waiting. This does not mean being aggressive or unethical. It means being proactive, strategic, and confident. Machiavelli's lesson reminds us that power is a prize that demands attention and courage. If we want to achieve influence or leadership, we must be prepared to take power rather than wait for it to be given. At its core, the idea that power is never given, only taken, encourages us to see the world realistically. It asks us to accept that power involves struggle and action. It challenges us to be active participants in shaping our lives and societies. Machiavelli's wisdom lies in showing that power is not mysterious or magical. It is something practical and attainable through effort. His insights remain relevant today because human nature and social dynamics have not changed much over centuries. Understanding that power must be taken helps us become more aware of how leaders gain and lose influence. It also empowers us to take control of our own lives by being bold and intentional. The lesson is clear. To have power, we must be willing to take it. Continuing from where we left off, it is important to explore how power once taken is maintained. Machiavelli teaches us that taking power is only the first step. Holding on to it is a different challenge. Many leaders throughout history have seized power only to lose it soon after. The question then becomes, how do rulers keep power once they have taken it? Machiavelli's answer is practical and sometimes uncomfortable. He advises rulers to be vigilant and ready to adapt. Power is fragile, and threats come not only from outside enemies but also from within. Those who have power must constantly defend it, sometimes by making difficult decisions that others might not like. For example, Machiavelli suggests that a leader must sometimes be willing to act against friends or allies if it serves the stability of their rule. Loyalty can be unpredictable, and a wise ruler must not depend solely on the goodwill of others. This is why Machiavelli emphasizes that power is not about making everyone happy, but about securing one's position and the survival of the state. This practical approach helps leaders stay in control even in difficult times. Machiavelli also points out that appearances matter greatly in politics and leadership. that power is not only about actual control, but also about how others perceive that control. A leader who appears strong and confident will discourage challengers and inspire respect. On the other hand, a leader who seems weak or uncertain invites rebellion and disrespect. Therefore, leaders must carefully manage their image. This might include showing generosity when it wins support, or demonstrating firmness to inspire fear and order. Machiavelli explains that sometimes it is necessary to use deception to maintain power. This does not mean that all leaders must lie constantly, but that they must be wise about what to reveal and what to hide. The ability to manage appearances is a form of power itself because it influences how others behave. If people believe a leader is powerful, they are less likely to challenge that leader. This is why power, once taken, must be supported by skillful communication and image management. Another key aspect of maintaining power is the use of laws and force. Machiavelli distinguishes between ruling with the consent of the people and ruling through fear. Ideally, a leader combines both. Good laws create order and fairness, which earn loyalty and stability. But laws alone are not enough. A leader must also have the strength to enforce those laws and protect the state from threats. This may require the use of force or punishment. Machiavelli does not glorify cruelty, but he accepts it as sometimes necessary. If a leader is too soft, lawbreakers and enemies will take advantage, leading to chaos. If a leader is too harsh, they risk rebellion. The wise ruler balances these forces carefully. This balance is difficult but essential to keeping power. Machiavelli's view is pragmatic. Power requires a firm hand to maintain order, but also an understanding of when mercy can build loyalty. Machiavelli's ideas about power also highlight the importance of adaptability. The world is always changing. New threats appear, alliances shift, and public opinion evolves. A leader who cannot adapt will lose power quickly. Machiavelli advises rulers to be like a fox and a lion. The lion represents strength and courage, while the fox represents cleverness and cunning. A successful leader uses both. They must be strong enough to face enemies head-on, but clever enough to avoid traps and outsmart opponents. This combination allows leaders to take advantage of changing situations and survive challenges. For example, when force is not enough, a leader might use diplomacy or deception to maintain power. When laws fail to keep order, a leader might take decisive action to restore stability. Being flexible and responsive to change is one of the most important ways to hold power once it has been taken. It is also important to recognize that power is often contested not just by enemies, but by those closest to the ruler. Family members, advisors, or trusted friends can become threats if they seek power for themselves. Machiavelli warns rulers to be cautious about whom they trust. While loyalty is valuable, blind trust can lead to betrayal. Leaders must watch carefully for signs of disloyalty and act quickly to prevent plots or conspiracies. This vigilance can be uncomfortable but necessary. Power attracts ambition, and those who seek power may hide their true intentions. By understanding human nature and remaining alert, a ruler can prevent others from stealing the power they have taken. This lesson is important not only for rulers, but for anyone in a position of leadership. Knowing who to trust and how to protect one's position is a key part of maintaining power. Machiavelli also explains that power often requires making difficult moral choices. The common idea that leaders should always be good, kind, and just is challenged by the realities of politics. Sometimes a leader must act against what is traditionally considered good to protect the state or secure power. This does not mean that leaders should be cruel without cause, but that they must be willing to prioritize the stability and success of their rule over personal virtue. This idea can be difficult to accept because it conflicts with our moral beliefs. However, Machiavelli asks us to be realistic about human nature and the demands of leadership. The stability of the state and the well-being of the people often depend on the leader's ability to make tough decisions. These decisions may include punishing wrongdoers, breaking promises, or acting decisively against enemies. The lesson here is that power is complex and sometimes requires actions that are hard to justify in simple moral terms. In today's world, Machiavelli's teachings about maintaining power remain relevant. Leaders in government, business, or other fields must understand the need for vigilance, adaptability, and sometimes difficult choices. The balance between strength and wisdom, law and force, trust and caution is still essential. People who hold power cannot afford to be complacent or naive. They must constantly work to protect their position and serve the interests they represent. This does not mean that power must always be cruel or unfair, but that leaders must be prepared to act decisively when needed. Machiavelli's insights help us understand why some leaders succeed in holding power while others fail. They show that power is an active process, not a passive gift. Understanding how to maintain power also helps us as citizens and individuals. By recognizing the realities of power, we become more aware of how leadership works and why certain decisions are made. We can better understand the motivations behind political actions and the challenges leaders face. This awareness encourages us to think critically about those in power and to be more engaged in the process of leadership and governance. It reminds us that power is dynamic and that those who hold it must be held accountable. At the same time, it encourages us to be active participants in shaping our own lives by understanding the importance of taking and maintaining power in our personal and professional spheres. In summary, Machiavelli teaches us that power is never given, only taken. But taking power is only the beginning. Maintaining power requires vigilance, wisdom, flexibility, and sometimes difficult decisions. Leaders must manage appearances, use laws, and force wisely. Adapt to changing situations, guard against betrayal, and be willing to prioritize the stability of their rule over simple morality. These lessons remain true today and help us understand the complex nature of power in human life. By learning from Machiavelli, we become better equipped to understand the world around us and to take control of our own lives with confidence and clarity. As we come to the final part of this discussion on Machiavelli's idea that power is never given, only taken, it is important to reflect on what this means for us personally and for society as a whole. Machiavelli's lessons about power are not only about rulers and politics. They are about human nature and how we relate to each other in everyday life. Power shapes many parts of our world, from governments and businesses to families and friendships. Understanding that power must be taken encourages us to be active agents in our own lives. It reminds us that waiting for opportunities or influence to be handed to us may lead to disappointment. Instead, if we want to make changes or lead others, we need to be willing to take responsibility and act with courage. This can mean speaking up when we have ideas, standing firm in our beliefs, or seeking out chances to grow and influence. Taking power requires confidence and sometimes risk, but it also brings growth and empowerment. It invites us to move from being passive observers to active participants in shaping our futures. At the same time, Machiavelli's ideas caution us about the use and abuse of power. While power must be taken, it also carries great responsibility. Those who hold power influence the lives of many people, and how they use that power matters deeply. Machiavelli does not suggest that power should be used selfishly or cruelly. Instead, he emphasizes that wise rulers use power to maintain stability, order, and the common good. In today's world, this means leaders must balance ambition with ethics, strength with compassion, and strategy with honesty. The lesson is that taking power is only the start. How power is used defines its true value. Power can build or destroy, inspire or oppress. Being aware of this helps us as individuals to consider not just how we take power, but how we wield it responsibly. This awareness can guide us to be better leaders, better citizens, and better people. Machiavelli also teaches us that power is linked to the reality of human nature. People are complex, motivated by self-interest, fear, love, and many other feelings. Understanding this complexity helps us grasp why power is contested and why those in power must be alert and adaptable. It reminds us that people may not always act in purely good or predictable ways. This realism encourages leaders to be clear-eyed and practical, avoiding idealistic expectations that can lead to failure. For example, expecting complete loyalty or honesty from everyone can be dangerous. Instead, Machiavelli advises leaders to prepare for the unexpected and to act wisely in response. This insight into human nature is a valuable guide not only for rulers but for anyone who wants to navigate social relationships effectively. Whether in work, family, or community, recognizing that power dynamics are present helps us understand why conflicts arise and how to manage them better. Another powerful aspect of Machiavelli's teaching is the importance of courage and decisiveness in taking power. Hesitation or fear often leads to missed opportunities. Machiavelli admired leaders who acted boldly and seized moments of chance. This courage is not reckless but informed by knowledge and planning. It requires understanding risks and benefits before making decisions. In life, this means we cannot wait indefinitely for the perfect moment to act. We must be willing to step forward, take risks, and accept the consequences. This lesson is deeply empowering. It teaches us that power comes to those who are willing to try and to persevere, even when the outcome is uncertain. Courage is a form of power in itself, opening doors to new possibilities and growth. Machiavelli's admiration for boldness encourages us to face challenges bravely and to be proactive in pursuing our goals. As we reflect on Machiavelli's message, it is clear that power is a dynamic and complex force. It is never simply given as a gift or right. It is something that must be earned, taken, and carefully maintained. This truth can be uncomfortable because it challenges our ideas about fairness, kindness, and morality. Yet it also offers a realistic and practical guide for understanding leadership and human interaction. Power involves effort, strategy, courage, and sometimes difficult choices. By learning from Machiavelli, we gain insight into the nature of influence and control that remains relevant in all areas of life. In conclusion, power is never given, only taken, is a powerful reminder that power is active, not passive. It calls us to be bold, to act decisively, and to take responsibility for shaping our own lives and communities. It asks us to understand human nature clearly, to balance strength with wisdom, and to be prepared to maintain power once it is taken. Whether we seek power in politics, business, relationships, or personal growth, Machiavelli's teachings offer valuable guidance. They help us see that power is not about waiting or hoping, but about acting and taking control with courage and intelligence. As we apply these lessons, we can become more confident, effective, and thoughtful leaders in our own lives. This understanding makes us not only stronger individuals, but also better members of society. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of Machiavelli's view on power. I hope this discussion has inspired you to think differently about what power means and how it is gained and kept. Remember, power is a prize that demands action. To have power, we must be willing to take it. Let us carry this wisdom forward as we navigate our own journeys of leadership and influence. Until next time, take care and stay thoughtful.